All right. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday night call. This week is a little bit different. We are actually going to be doing a little webinar all about how you can eat to lose weight. And so I'm going to go ahead and start our PowerPoint. Give me just a second. All righty. Can somebody nod if you're seeing the PowerPoint, Eat to Lose? Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let me hide that. Awesome. All right, so let's just get started. I know we have the trim up that's going on right now for the next few months. And then we also have just the basic general New Year's resolutions where you're going to be adding, especially around the 15th of the month when people have that first real paycheck after Christmas, you're going to be adding a lot of new team members and customers and people ready to try Plexus. So I want to make sure that we're setting them up for success as far as using the products and how we need to eat to lose weight. So let me just say, hang on, there we go. There's a reason that I'm very passionate about this stuff. Back in the day, I was, as you can see in this picture, 350 pounds, very unhealthy, and I had to come to terms with my food addiction, totally change my thinking, and I thought gastric bypass was the answer. I quickly learned that that brought with it a whole new set of health issues and permanent deficiencies, and that long-term Plexus was the answer that I found. And it was a wonderful answer. So before we get started, you need to remember that the Plexus products are there to help you control your cravings, keep your gut bacteria balanced, keep your blood sugar balanced, help keep your appetite curbed, but you have to do the work. There is no magic pill, no magic potion, no magic drink. We just have tools. A hammer doesn't build a house. You know, a patch can help you quit smoking, but you ultimately have to do the work. And it's the same way with Plexus. There is not an easy fix to weight problems. And I want you to know that the purpose of this webinar is for the person who is really struggling with their weight and to lose weight. This is not for the person who is necessarily an athlete and only has 10 pounds to lose, works out consistently every day. This is someone who is really, really struggling. If you are an athlete, if you are a workout fiend, someone like that, then you're going to be able to eat a little more of the carbs and sugar. It's not good for you. It's not good for your body. The sugar and the grains and the carbs do really bad things to our system. They cause inflammation. But as a disclaimer, this webinar is specifically geared towards people who are struggling with their weight. So with that being said, it doesn't do any good to have the Plexus products on hand, but not be using them consistently. They can't work if they're sitting in the counter in the bottles. You really need to make a 90-day commitment when you start these products to use them consistently every single day and use them correctly. You can't just do slim and expect to lose weight. You can't just do slim and block without getting your gut healthy with the ProBio and BioCleanse. Honestly and truly, if you have a real weight problem, you're going to need bare minimum the triplex and the carb block. And you may need one or two other things for energy too. Our bodies are so in chaos because of our environment, the food we eat, our lack of sleep, the medicines we take, that everyone in the world practically needs some type of supplementation. So be sure that you get with your sponsor and you're communicating with them at least once every couple of weeks in the beginning to get your regimen tweaked, to make sure that you're using the right products at the right time. Also, don't let yourself run out, because I'm here to tell you, let's say you forget to reorder your products and you run out of that triplex and you go 3 or 4 days without your ProBio and your Slim till the order comes in, you're almost going to be starting yourself right back over, because all of that bacteria is going to be growing in your gut. So when you've got a week's worth of products left, it's really important to reorder. So from the day you join Plexus and get that welcome pack, you should be reordering in 3 weeks. You've got to be consistent or it's not going to work. The key to the whole thing, comes down to sugar and carbs. These two things have to become very limited in our daily diets if we want to get to and maintain a healthy weight and blood glucose level. The Plexus products can be a really good tool in working towards both. And I'm going to explain to you tonight some things. I want you to know why the sugar is so bad. And then I'm going to explain to you some really easy ways to get it out of your diet. Sugar is literally more addictive than cocaine and heroin. There are actual lab tests where lab rats will go to sugar water before they will go to cocaine and heroin. It causes more illness than cigarettes, alcohol, and all other drugs combined. That's pretty bad. The entire root of what we call metabolic disease, which is comprised of high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes, that is all caused by excess consumption of sugar and grains and carbohydrates that convert into glucose. So the sugar lobby was very successful in keeping the recommended daily allowances for sugar off of nutrition labels, so you won't see that anywhere. But I will tell you that the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends that women do not get, this is if you're at a healthy weight and you're maintaining, no more than 4 to 6 teaspoons a day, and for men, no more than 6 to 8 teaspoons a day. That converts to about less than 20 grams. So we are just over consuming by tens of thousands of percents. And when you go to the grocery store, there's 600,000 processed foods in the store. Over 80% have sugar added. And these are just some little facts. 1 soda a day for a child, not a diet soda, but a sugared soda, increases that child's risk of obesity by 60%. And just so you know, carbohydrates in your body that are not burned through exercise and through the metabolic process, those turn to sugar and then are stored as fat. So if you eat a bowl of Cheerios or a bowl of bran flakes or a gluten-free bagel or a whole wheat piece of toast, that is no different than eating a bowl of sugar. And that's the part that I think most people don't understand and don't get. And people think they're eating healthy and eating clean when they're actually eating a ton of sugar. And sugar addiction really is a terrible perpetual cycle. You eat sugar, you love it, you crave it, it has addictive properties, your blood sugar levels rise, the brain releases dopamine, which is a pleasure hormone, and dopamine is also released by a lot of illicit drugs and pain medicines and things like that. And then your blood sugar starts to rapidly fall, and it causes your body to just tons of insulin is produced and secreted, and it causes that blood sugar level to drop. And then when that happens, your body starts craving sugar again. And what do? You eat the sugar. So it's this endless cycle. That's why you'll find that if you do a good sugar detox, after the first 5 or 6 days, you don't want it anymore like you did. I have not had measurable carbs in about a week, and I just don't crave them. You know, I'm down 5 pounds, but I'm also just not wanting the carbohydrates. So if you've been trained your whole life to count calories, I'm here to tell you it's not the answer. There are thousands of doctors who will tell you the same thing. If you go and read anything by Dr. Mark Hyman, by Dr. Robert Lustig, even Dr. Oz, who is pretty much just a paid spokesman, is getting on board with the fact that calories in versus calories out, it's not about that. And if you look at when the fitness craze and the counting calorie craze started in the 70s, that's when the obesity and diabetes rate started skyrocketing. And it's so bad that we don't anymore have type 2 diabetes being called adult onset because it's happening in little kids. It used to be you had childhood diabetes that you were born with, and adult onset that was a product of your environment. Now we have to call them type 1 and type 2 because it's not just fitting adults or children. You've got little children who are grossly overweight developing type 2 diabetes. So it's pretty scary stuff. And that is why Plexus is so amazing. That is why I am so passionate about this, because I am one of those people who suffered from this, and I'll always suffer from that food addiction. I'll just be in recovery my whole life. So that said, the only way to permanently keep weight off long-term is to make changes to our eating habits. I cannot say, well, I'm just going to eat 1,200 calories a day. and make that 1,200 calories a day cake and McDonald's and cookies and think I'm going to lose weight long term. It's not going to happen. So we have to change our thinking. We have to educate ourselves about what's in our food and make habit changes. You don't have to give up time, convenience, or taste to eat healthy. I have not felt deprived one moment this week. I've had delicious, amazing food, but it's because I've educated myself and I know what to do and what to cook and what to eat. And I'm going to give you some of that on this call. You do want to stay away from your boxed and frozen, pre-prepared foods and fast foods. I'm here to tell you, if you buy those lean cuisines, Healthy Choice, Weight Watchers, those are all full of carbs and sugar, and they're not going to help you get healthy and lose weight for a long period of time. And also, if you involve your whole family in planning meals and shopping and prepping and cooking, it can be fun. It's a really great way to get kids interested in healthy living at a young age. There are statistics that show kids that get in the kitchen and help with meal prep have, I don't want to give the number because I don't want to misquote it, but it's very high. It's between 25 and 45% less chance of becoming obese as adults. So you've got to make healthy eating a priority. You wouldn't go a day without taking a bath, brushing your teeth. Those are just habitual things that you know you have to do to be a healthy person. So eating healthy needs to become the same kind of thing. You've got to make it a priority. Diets do not work long term. You're going to lose a lot of weight quickly. Usually it's by an unhealthy means. Usually it's going to come back with a vengeance, and you're going to bring an extra 10 or 15 pounds with it. And crash fad diets do not address the root cause of why we have excess weight, which is a combination of things, but the biggest part of it is our overconsumption of sugar and carbs. It can also make your metabolism worse and make weight loss a lot harder down the road. Plus, diets are very restrictive, and so it's very hard to stick to them. And you have to realize that all calories are not created equal. There is a very big difference in looking at these two pictures, getting your calories from these fresh vegetables and meats and proteins and things on the left, and getting your calories from the junk food that you see on the right. There is a huge difference in 200 calories of cake and 200 calories of a salad that's full of vegetables and protein and things like that. Very big difference in the nutrient content, how your body processes it, and what it's going to do to help your body. You have to start thinking about eating food that came from nature. There are several different ways that you can eat. A lot of people there's aspects of the paleo eating plan, the Trim Healthy Mama, which is very low carb, Whole 30, which is, I think it's pretty low carb, right? Whole 30 is pretty low carb. We have some people that are doing that. You've got to do one of these eating plans, not a diet, but an eating plan that greatly reduces carbohydrates. And I'm here to tell you, the less you eat them, the less you're going to want them. And you can't be fooled by these processed packaged foods. If you look at these labels, you probably have bought baked Doritos or baked Lay's or baked chips and thought you were doing something good. But if you notice, the baked chips have more carbohydrates and more sugar. There's no added sugar in regular Doritos. I'm not saying go eat Doritos. That was my drug of choice for a long time. But I'm telling you, the baked Doritos are even worse. You have to just say no to both. Don't let the food industry fool you into thinking things are healthy when they're not. This is processed garbage. Go down the list of these ingredients. When you're eating something that has all of this garbage in it and has powder that'll stain your fingers, what do you think it's doing to your insides? Besides the fact that both of these are loaded with carbs that convert to sugar and are stored as fat. Don't be fooled by these naked smoothies and Adwala smoothies. There's just as much sugar in that as there is in a Coke. Don't be fooled by jarred spaghetti sauce. It has almost double the sugar of the bag of M&Ms. The food industry is not your friend. You have to know that. You've got to stay away from all this junk. Same thing with these Oreos. The reduced fat Oreos have the same amount of sugar as regular. We all know that when the food industry decided they were going to go on a low fat kick, when you take the fat out of food, it tastes like cardboard. So what do they replace it with? Sugar. That's why I tell people never buy, if something says low fat or reduced fat, you need to run like your hair's on fire. Because if you buy reduced fat cheese, reduced fat salad dressings, they're going to have double, sometimes triple the sugar of the regular ones. You need to just do plain old ranch dressing or, plain old full fat cheese, real cheese, not processed reduced fat cheese product. And there's a big misconception that it costs too much to eat healthy, and that's not true. Because when you're eating a healthy diet, low in carbs and sugar, your appetite's going to be less, number one. And number two, if you shop seasonal produce and meats that are not off the charts expensive at the time, you can almost eat good, healthy, whole food like this for less than you spend on a fast food meal. So let's talk about some things to have on hand when you're trying to eat healthy and eat sugar-free. And actually, before I do that, I need to make sure that you understand how to read a label and know how many carbohydrates are in your food. If you're really trying to lose weight, if you have 10 to 25 pounds to lose, I would suggest keeping your net carbohydrate count at no more than 25 to 30 grams a day. If you have more than 25 pounds to lose, I would try to keep it to 20 net grams a day. What do I mean by net grams? If you look at this label for the baked or for the Doritos, you will see that it says it has total carbohydrates of 16 grams. Right under that, you see dietary fiber of 1 gram. You always subtract fiber from the number of carbs. Why? And it doesn't matter if it says dietary fiber, soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, all of that gets subtracted because your body doesn't absorb it. It's not metabolized into your bloodstream. Therefore, it does not affect your blood sugar levels. So fiber doesn't count. So where this says that this has 16 grams of carbohydrate, you subtract that 1 gram of fiber, and it's really 15. Still way too much. But just so you know, you subtract the fiber. Also, if you see a sugar alcohol like erythritol, malitol, sorbitol, sugar alcohols are also subtracted, and you'll see it like this right under the carbohydrates. So that's how you get to the net carbohydrates, okay? So let's talk about how you can eat a diet that is low in a lot of this stuff. The biggest thing is to eat tons of vegetables. You know that you need green things, tons of green, tons of color. You want to keep your fruit to a minimum because fruit is loaded with sugar. Yes, it's natural, but unless you're working out 4 or 5 days a week, you want to keep your fruit to berries and things like that. If you're really working out seriously, you can add an apple, a banana, an orange, something like that. But you're going to need a substitute for the bread and the rice. These are some of my favorites. These are very, very low carb, okay? Mission Carb Balance tortillas, those have 6 grams of net carbs. The La Banderita low carb tortilla is only 5. The Joseph's lavash bread and the Joseph's pita bread, that's only 4 grams of carbs because you're taking out the fiber. These are loaded with fiber. And let me tell you, if you're trying to lose weight, if you can put 30 grams of fiber in your diet every day, it's going to greatly help you lose weight. Fiber is going to help flush out your system. Fiber is going to aid in the work of the BioCleanse and the ProBio 5. The more fiber you can get, the better you're going to be as far as being able to lose weight, being able to keep your system clean. So these 3 are really good bread substitutes: low carb tortillas, low carb pitas, and low carb lavash bread. You can make pizzas out of all of these. You can make sandwiches. You can make wraps. You can do tons of things. You need everything in this picture you need to have on hand. If you're like me and you're a Southern girl and you love your biscuits and you love your sausage balls, This yellow box called Carb Quick is amazing. It's almost all fiber. A half a cup of this stuff is only 2 grams of carbs. And I'm telling you, I have made a bazillion things with it. I've made a crust for a chicken pot pie. I make biscuits. I make sausage balls. I make pancakes. You can order it on Amazon. It's not very expensive, and it is amazing. And it's going to add a ton of fiber to your diet. Also, if you need flour, almond meal, almond flour is very, very good and low in carbohydrates. You can look up recipes on Pinterest or Google, and for the almond flour, anywhere you would do a regular pie crust, you could make a sugar-free lemon pie or a sugar-free cheesecake and do that almond flour crust, and you have a high protein, high fiber, low carb, yummy dish. The Carb Quick, any recipe that uses Bisquick, you can substitute it in the exact same amounts, the exact same way. It is a fantastic product. There's tons of recipes on the box. I love making little knockoff of Red Lobster cheddar garlic biscuits. That's one of my favorite things in the world. And my newest favorite thing to come along is riced cauliflower. It is a pain in the neck to get a head of cauliflower, put it in the food processor, try to get it to the consistency of rice. I made the most delicious, quote, fried rice the other night using this cauliflower rice. I also made a pot of red beans and used this as my rice instead of regular rice. There's so much that you can do. Go to Pinterest, go to Google, look up cauliflower rice recipes. Be careful though, because if you look at the picture at the bottom, one of these is flavored, and the flavored ones have a little more sugar. They have sugar added to them, and sometimes they have carbs. So be careful with the flavored ones. But if you've got all these things in your pantry and freezer, you're not going to find yourself in a pinch of, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat? If you have all of these things and you keep lots of green vegetables, fixings for salads, things like green beans and broccoli and asparagus and all of that kind of stuff. If you have that on hand and then have some ham and turkey and chicken and low sodium cold cuts, you've got what you need to have a meal in a pinch anytime. So these are my favorite bread and rice substitutes. You can get all this at Walmart except for the Carb Quick. Also, when I say don't do processed stuff, my exception is good protein powder and a good protein bar. The Plexus 96 is great. It's got 15 grams of protein, 96 calories, wonderful, low in sugar. But if you want something a little more fancy schmancy with a lot more flavors, then Quest is a really good alternative. It has even less carbs and I think double the protein of the P96. I keep both in the house. But what I love about Quest is they have bars and they have shakes. And most of them don't have more than 1 to 2 net grams of carbs. And you can get some crazy wild flavors. The shakes come in salted caramel, peanut butter, all kinds of stuff. And the bars, there's literally 30 different flavors of those bars. And just a little tip, the texture of them, you can cut them into 4, put them on a baking sheet in the oven for 5 minutes, spray a cookie sheet, and you can make protein cookies out of the bars because they're kind of the texture of cookie dough. So those are really good. And then a lot of times for a quick breakfast or on-the-go snack, I'll do the Atkins bars, but make sure you're doing the ones that have 5 or less net carbs. There's one that I love, but I didn't realize till I had already bought a box that it had 7 grams of carbs. And that's a little bit too much. That's going to make you a little hungrier. So try to stick to the ones with 5 grams or less. And then dairy items that you want to keep on hand, unsweetened almond milk, coconut milk. You can make faux cream soups, salad dressings, shakes. There are many days where I'm just craving a cream of broccoli soup or a broccoli cheese soup, and I will boil some broccoli and some chicken broth with some onions and throw it in the blender with some almond milk and a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese, and boom, there's my fake cream of broccoli cheese soup. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. You need to have plain Greek yogurt, not the flavored one. That's really good for making salad dressings and things like that. And then cheese, regular full-fat cheese. The harder the cheese, the better it is for you. The softer cheeses usually have a little more fat and sometimes a little more things added to them. So the harder cheeses are better, like the sharp cheddar, the gorgonzolas, the sharper, more pungent cheeses often have way less carbs than the others. So the key to all this is being prepared. If you go to the grocery store and you buy some of the items that we have here listed that we've been talking about, and you start trying to cook in advance on your day off, have things that you can grab and go and take to work, have healthy snacks on hand. If you do all of that and you can really start trying to think of everything you put in your mouth, think of your body like a car, and you can't put water in your gas tank. Well, that's not a good example because we need water. You wouldn't put beer in your gas tank and expect your car to run. You can't put junk in your body and expect your body to run. You have to put the food, the good food in nature that God created for us. There's a reason foods are colored the way they are. Fruits and vegetables have their colors, and each one relates to a different nutrient that our body needs and that most of us don't get enough of. So you really need to start doing your best to think of food as fuel. And if you're out and about for long periods of time and you're afraid you're going to be tempted, keep a good snack in your car or in your purse. I wouldn't keep an Atkins bar in there in the summertime, but you can bring a handful of almonds. You can put a little Ziploc bag of almonds and keep that stashed in your purse at any time, so that if you get really hungry and you don't have time to really eat a good meal, you're going to be less tempted to make a really bad choice. So it really all boils down to being prepared. That's what it's all going to come down to. A lot of times I think we get ourselves in a pickle because we failed to prepare. So if I go to the grocery and I make sure that I have all of these things on hand, then I know, like for me personally, I know that if I'm in a hurry, and this happened to me today, I was really busy. I realized I had forgotten to eat breakfast. I'd forgotten to eat lunch. And so about 3 o'clock, I grabbed a low-carb tortilla, got 3 slices of deli turkey, folded it over, and ate it while I was working. That gave me fiber. It gave me protein. It kept me from being hungry. It kept my blood sugar steady. And so if you've always got these things on hand, you're not going to find yourself grabbing for the bad stuff. If I wouldn't have had the cauliflower rice last night, I'd have been really tempted to eat the white rice that I made for my son, who is a runner and who is a gym freak and needs the carbs and doesn't even eat like I eat. I'd have been tempted to eat that rice because it was sitting there and it looked good. But I had my cauliflower rice and I was fine. So understanding what you need to keep on hand is half the battle. And understanding that every 4 grams of carbohydrate that you eat convert to a teaspoon of sugar. When you know that, then you understand that eating a piece of bread, a piece of whole wheat bread that looks very healthy, but has 22 grams of carbs, you understand that that's 5 teaspoons of sugar right there. That's your daily allowance from the WHO. So very, very important to remember that. And all these carbs that convert to sugar, if you're not working out like a fiend and burning them, they will be stored as fat. So I want you to really make it a point to utilize your triplex, your carb blocker, and utilize our group page. If you have food questions, please ask them there. It's very possible to eat out and still stick to this. When I go out somewhere, I look for an entree that has a meat that doesn't have a sauce on it, because most sauces are full of carbs, a meat, a green veggie, and a salad. That's what I try to look for. You can find that almost anywhere. There are a couple of types of restaurants that you're not going to be able to probably find anything healthy at. One is a Chinese or Asian restaurant, it's going to be very hard because everything is rices and noodles and sauces and tons of sugar in the sauces. So unless you go somewhere that has stir fry you can make yourself, it's going to be hard. We rarely eat Chinese food because it's hard to find something healthy and low carb. Fast food is also very, very difficult because a salad you get in a fast food restaurant is not the same as a salad that you're making at home. It's got chemicals added to it. It's got sugar, tons of sugar added in the dressings and things like that. Panera is a really good choice. They have some great low carb choices. If you have to have fast food in a pinch, I have gone through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and gotten 6 grilled nuggets and an unsweetened tea. I have done that in a pinch because it is breast meat, real chicken. But again, that's not the same as trying to eat at home. But understand, we're not all we're in a perfect world. We would be able to eat only things from nature, not one processed food item. But the majority of people can't do that. So it's about doing the best you can in the real world. It doesn't mean go crazy, but it means, you know what, if you had to get some grilled nuggets yesterday, that's okay. That's not going to kill you. Don't get the fried nuggets, don't get the French fries, but you have to make the best with what you can do in the real world. If you're on the road traveling, almost every big convenience store, when we're traveling, we try to stop at a Pilot or a Love's or one of these truck stops. Now you can get in the cooler section individual blocks of cheese. You can get boiled eggs, fresh fruit. There's always an alternative. I can't tell you how many times we have been out on the road and I've gotten a bag of mixed nuts or a bag of almonds and a stick of cheese, in a bottled water. You can find healthy choices everywhere except Dunkin' Donuts. Well, the coffee's okay. Or McDonald's, the coffee would be the only thing okay. But you know what I mean. If you really are looking for something healthy, you can find it just about anywhere. And be very, very mindful of your trips to places like Starbucks. If you go order a latte or something like that, you're going to be getting a ton of carbs and sugar. You have to say, if I have to go to Starbucks, I hate their coffee because it's so acidic, but if I have to go there, I'm going to order, my usual order is a venti coffee with sugar-free cinnamon dolce in it and some almond milk. That's almost no carbs and almost no calories. I think it's like 30 calories. But if I would have ordered a typical mocha latte or, hazelnut latte, we'd be talking 500-600 calories. So it's pretty bad. And those calories are all coming from sugar. Sugar is the key. And you have to retrain your brain to understand that any carbohydrate, every 4 grams converts to a teaspoon of sugar. And that's what it all comes down to. Does anybody have questions before we go? Let me go back where I can see everyone. If you have a question, just feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Does anybody have one? It looks like most of you on are my veterans who have heard this a bunch, and I got Tammy here with me, and I know she's heard it a bunch, so some of you probably already know all this stuff. No questions? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Make sure your teams see this, your customers. This will be one that's public on YouTube so that anybody can find it. It's really, really important for people to understand how they need to change their eating habits when they get on the products. So thank y'all for being on. I appreciate it. And if you can come up with any questions, feel free to put them in the group and I'll get this link posted and I'll be happy to answer any questions there. Y'all